Welcome to Talk to Him, a show where we discuss self-help strategies, money, music, fashion, education, health, relationships, and how it all links to financial success. Be sure to hit that like button and also that share button as well too, if you're feeling what we're talking about. I'm your host for this show. My name is James Levesque. Talk to him. Come vibe with me. All right, folks, we have a special guest live in the studio with us today. She is what I call community star power, folks, all right? She is an entrepreneur, founder of We Rock Lives, which means resiliency, optimism, change lives, therapeutic coaching services, motivational psychotherapist, radio podcast host at Urban Heat 98.1 FM, a self-care expert. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Miss Lakisha Austin, aka coachLA, live in the studio with us today. coachLA, how you doing?
Talk to him, Jay.
Talk to him.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing
excited
great.
to be here.
Yo, I'm excited to have you here.
Yes.
You look phenomenal, by the way.
Thank you. Thank
you.
you.
I'm excited, man.
I had to get extra spicy for your show, you know.
Yo, I appreciate
to make sure
that.
I came all the way through.
So, listen, right? So, folks, I don't know if you've been to one of coachLA's events. And if you haven't, you're missing out, okay? I went to her event. It was called No Filter, right? Probably one of the most flyest event I've been to. You know, the way that it was set up, it was interactive. It got you thinking. You wasn't just out here just listening to music, getting drunk. Nah, you was actually sipping, chilling, having conversation, doing activities, right?
I got y'all grown people moving around.
Yeah, you had us doing activities. And you know, yourself and the other hosts, shout out to my man, James Lambert. He did a phenomenal job out there as well, too, curating the whole event. And let me ask this, like, what made you, how did that concept get about? What made you go, you know, what made you think about that concept? Because it was very different.
Yeah, so I think it's twofold. So
Yeah.
one of my main missions coming into this work as a licensed independent clinical social worker was to change the game. I think one of the things we do as Black and brown folks is we always bring a flavor and a vibe, and we change market what we bring. So I wanted to do something different, and I wanted to debunk myths about what going to therapy was like, what a therapeutic support looked like. And I wanted it to be fun, sexy, interactive, but I wanted it to really make you think.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you said that. I wanted to spark adults, especially, to think about why they think about the things they think about,
Right.
why they move the way they move, where did it come from, where did these thoughts and beliefs resonate from. And I wanted her to do it in a way that was like Karate Kid.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
I'm like Mrs. Miyagi. I wanted to get you out there waxing on, waxing off, and then you realize, oh shoot, she taught me some skills.
Yeah.
Like, I'm ready to go out there and actually verbally fight. Like, I'm able to move around this world a little bit differently, and I didn't even realize I was learning something. So that's really what sparked it. I do that with every one of my events, but shout out to James Lambert III.
Yep.
He was a guest on Conversations with coachLA, and we wanted to talk about the divisiveness between men and women.
Yeah.
Like the fact that we seem like we always going at each other.
Yeah.
We're at odds. And he came on the show, and the show did really well. And we were like, wow, people like, you guys should do another episode. And we were like, what if we actually did an event that brought men and women together, where we talked about more than just getting together in a romantic way, but how to become better human beings and have better relationships across the board in all segments, in all quadrants of our lives.
Yeah, yeah.
And taking off the filter.
That is true. That is true. You know, I definitely feel the divisiveness between men and women, especially, you know, I definitely feel that. But honestly, during your event, you know, it had me thinking about who it is that I am now as a human being. Also past, you know, certain mistakes that I've done, certain things that I've had to learn. Also, you know, growing up, you know what I mean? Like our upbringing as well too, you know, just being able to think about these things through this activity, right? It was one activity that was, yo, listen, we was playing musical chairs, right? So we're playing musical chairs. There's 3 people left in musical chairs. There's like 2 women, 1 dude, right? So musical chairs is going around, and then all of a sudden, boom, music stopped. The one lady pulls the chair, right? And then the other lady, like, basically she fell, right? And if you look at the other lady, she looks so innocent, but I was like, yo, damn, what was all that, you know?
She totally shocked us.
So why'd you guys play that game? Because you learn a lot through that game.
Well,
you know?
one, we wanted to take people back to their inner child.
Right.
And it was a concept of getting your needs met and having to sort of go around. It felt like you were in a merry-go-round,
right,
and you're sort of spinning. So it had a lot of subliminal messages, but it was something to get people laughing, get people moving around. What I didn't expect is just how competitive people got about getting in the chair. But it was a reflection of the real world, right?
True.
Like, how could we find an activity that symbolized how people felt about the real world? Like, there's one chair, or at least your concept that you think it's only one chair.
Yeah.
And what would you do if that was it? Like, and that chair represented success. So it's like you're spinning around, who's gonna get the chair?
Yeah.
Right? And it was so interesting watching people go after the chair. And it was just, the dynamics played out in a very thought-provoking way.
Yeah. And you know what's so crazy too, because I've been learning a lot about evolution, right? Mm-hmm. How did we come about? How did we came in? And believe it or not, competition, right? Competition, you know, it brings the best of us. Also, it brings out the worst of us as well too. So it was just funny to see people, you know, it was fun. Don't get me wrong. Right. It was fun, but you also saw like the competitive side of folks as well too, which is what competition is supposed to do.
And misreading people too. Like, you know, you saw the 2 that was more loud, more rambunctious. Yeah. And the fact that, you know, the man was sort of giving the ladies a run for their money. He wanted the chair too. And the one you least expected it was the one with the strategy that was more cunning. That was. Right? He was like, I don't care how much y'all running around this chair. That chair's mine, and I'm going to snatch it from you. Yeah. And now what you going to do? So it was very interesting.
So let me ask you this, right? Since this is Women's History Month, right?
Yes,
and how do you build self-confidence within yourself, like as coachLA? How do you build self-confidence?
Ooh, so that's a great question. I think that's another twofold question. So one, I spend a lot of time self-reflecting and holding myself accountable. My daily routine, even if I fall off, is based on a concept called the Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod.
Okay.
And I love this concept. People should look it up. But it's called SAVERS. It's an acronym. And there's another book by James Clear who talks about atomic habits. I don't know if you've ever read that book.
Yes, I've heard of
So you need to have
habits.
strategies, right? You need to have systems that keep you grounded. So even if you fall off, you can always get back on track. So I use the SAVERS model, and I'm always holding myself accountable. And that really builds a lot of confidence when you show up for yourself every day.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And then when you don't and you feel off, you can get right back on track because you have a system and a strategy. So that really lets me feel confident. I know at any moment if I'm off, I know how to get back on track. So that's one way I build confidence. And then my circle, the people that I have around me is really important. I have a great support system of friends and family. Like, I got a good group of people that I've attracted to myself, and we're all dope. And having a bunch of dope people around you, they don't let you like not be confident. They remind you
how dope
both
you are.
Directly, indirectly, intentionally. We just always are pouring into each other. So I think that helps me have confidence too.
How do you mentioned something that was kind of interesting. How do you like show up for yourself every day?
So even on the days where I don't feel like I'm 100% on, I give myself grace. I speak kindly to myself. I check myself when I have negative self-talk. When I need help or I need support, I ask for it.
Even as a therapist, like I've been thinking like therapist is like the therapist, the person who's doing the therapy, they kind of have it all figured out.
Well, I do. I have it all figured out that I don't have it all figured out. That's the secret, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I never get so cocky. I never have a God complex. I'm humble, but in a way of understanding that I can't control everything. And so I think in showing up for myself, I understand that what can I control today? How can I save myself today? And that might be just saying, you know what? You're going to have a magnificent day.
Yeah.
Because you just woke up, and because you're here, and because you have the ability to do what you want today, and because you have the opportunity to do something differently than you did the day before. That might be the simplest thing for some people, but just knowing that every day is a new opportunity is amazing if you look at it like that.
That's true. That's true. Man, you know, a lot of times I'm thinking, you know, even like upbringing, right? Because a lot of times our upbringing and how it is that we came up, you know, that has a lot to do with our self-confidence, you know, and how it is that we look at ourselves. Like, how was your upbringing?
Ooh, you're going to go there.
Yeah.
Okay. So my upbringing was complex. And I say that because I grew up during the crack epidemic. And we grew up seeing a lot of people fall apart and our communities fall apart. But at the same time, I was told to go to school. I was told that, you know what, I was destined for success. I had a 2-parent household. I lived in a house. I lived on a street in a residential area with a bunch of other homeowners. I had an opportunity to go to private and parochial schools. I was a cheerleader.
What?
You know, so I did all of these things in my upbringing, but I was the oldest of 6 kids. My mother was super strict. There was a time when my dad had actually abused narcotics, crack. You know, so I had a very complex upbringing. So as much as there was like all this optimism, there was some scary times too, and some times where I sat and said, yeah, this can't be it. And I'm gonna make sure I'm successful and that I, you know, do something big so I can come back and I can do major things in my community. So I had this duality that I didn't understand then that I understand now. So I think I always knew I was destined to do something great, but I thought I was just going to be like the rich auntie and go make all this money in the stock market and then come back and buy the block. I think I never thought I would be a therapist.
Yeah.
But
so how'd you get into therapy?
Great, another great question. So I started off in financial services when I went. Shout out to UMass Boston.
Okay.
I went to UMass Boston undergrad on scholarship, and I think I figured out what my major was the last year, like when you're supposed to graduate. I found that I had enough credits to graduate, but I hadn't declared a major. And I actually had I had a double major in economics and Africana studies just because I had interest in those classes. I didn't go in making that my major, but that ended up being my major, purely out of interest. And I went into financial services.
Wow.
First. Therapy came after because I love the coaching and the mentorship aspect of being in financial services and sitting with clients and understanding their money goals and how their money goals were tied to their future goals and their family and how they grew up. Like, you'd be surprised how much you learn about people by trying to help them manage their money.
That's true. That's so crazy that you mentioned that, because there was this one lady, I forgot, I was doing like, was talking with somebody, and she said, you know, financial stuff is you actually dealing with spiritual stuff as well too. And I never thought about that. Like, you know, how your money is connected towards your spirituality, or, you know, what it is. Because, you know, once you getting everything in order, you know, you're getting kind of like getting your life in order. You know what I mean? Because if your money, believe it or not, I don't know about you, but when my money's funny, I can't really eat like that. I can't really maneuver around. I'm down. I'm over here overthinking, like, sheesh, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? And that hinders you spiritually. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, that's crazy that you said that. So that ended up getting you into into therapy.
So what I didn't realize that I understand now is therapy is nothing more than conversations. And it's about encouraging people to think and to reflect and to challenge belief systems. So when you think about when you work with people about money, you're doing a lot of that. You know, be they scared to invest in the market, or they got all their money in a savings account, or
Yeah.
you know, they're trying to save for retirement, and they don't really think that, you know, they should buy life insurance. So you're dealing with a lot of belief systems about money, life, that are connected to how the people make decisions about their finances. So
Wow.
what I didn't get then that I get now, which is ironic, one of my managers told me, I don't pay you to be a therapist or a social worker. We pay you to open up accounts and get people to, you know, invest their money, save their money. So I think I always was doing some level of financial therapy, just didn't really know that then.
Yeah.
That then manifested into what you see now, which is coachLA. I do a element of coaching and psychotherapy, if you think about it, which is, if your mind's right, your money can get right.
Oh, if your mind's right, your money can get right. Get your mind right. Get your mind right, for real, for real. So you mentioned psychotherapy.
Yes.
What's psychotherapy? Put me on.
Put it really simply, it's talk therapy.
Yeah.
It's your psychology. You know, if you allow people to talk long enough, they'll tell you everything you need to know. Work on your listening skills. Your listening skills.
Yeah.
Work on your listening skills. Active listening, it goes a long way. Just stop trying to think about how to respond and actually listen to what a person is saying, and repeat back what you heard, get clarity. The closest way for somebody to feel loved is often to feel listened to.
Yeah, that is true. And you know how we was talking earlier about the divisiveness, you know what I mean, between men and women, especially, you know, black people, you know what I mean? It seems like men over here, women over here, it's always this on fighting. I truly believe we don't really listen to each other.
No.
You know, we don't really listen to each other and what it is that we need, what it is that we're looking for. Because believe it or not, yo, we need women. Fellas, we need the ladies.
And we need the men.
We need them, yeah.
Yeah, so I think a lot of it is cognitive distortions. I think a lot of it is based on what we've seen. You know, if you grew up hearing, you know, you need to be independent.
Yeah.
Don't let no man take advantage of you. Don't let no man move in with you. If you grew up hearing negative connotations about men, then men are scary to you.
Yeah.
Women, men, if you grew up hearing, you know, be careful, you know, they try to take your money. Don't get caught up. You should try to trap you up with a baby. If you hear these things, right, then you're going to have a certain opinion about women. So I think we all have to go back to what were the lessons and things that we learned about the opposite sex.
Yeah.
Then the other one that I thought about was, if you grew up really strict, they didn't want you to talk to boys at all.
Yeah.
You know, so you never really got a chance to really know how to engage with one, because you just couldn't talk to one. You just was supposed to one day wake up and get married,
right,
without ever really engaging with one. So how are you supposed to know how to act as a wife?
Wow. So, okay, there's a couple of things that
I said a whole mouthful.
Yeah. So, okay. So, basically, what do you think is how do we start getting healthy relationships between? How do we get healthy? You know what I mean? Go ahead. Yeah. How do you think we get healthy relationships?
I think I always go back to self.
Yeah.
Right. How well do you know yourself?
Yeah. Me?
Well, I mean, you don't necessarily have to answer it. That was more of a rhetorical question. But how well do you know yourself? Would you date yourself? Would you marry yourself?
Yeah.
Right? Like, some people lie to themselves. They don't keep promises to themselves. They betray themselves. Start with yourself. Like, the relationship with yourself is one of the most important relationships you'll ever have.
Yeah.
And I think when you ask me about confidence, like, I really have been working on my relationship with myself.
Yeah.
You know, especially in this time of singleness, some people don't know what to do when they're single.
Right.
They completely feel lost without another person. But I have a lot of great people around me, right? So I'm not lonely,
right?
But I would love to have a partner. But how well do you know yourself? What are you bringing into a relationship? Do you know every aspect of, like, how you are when you're frustrated, when you're mad?
Right.
Can you communicate your needs without just shutting down? Do you know your defense mechanisms? So I think when you think about how do we get healthy in relationships, is knowing thyself.
Right.
Because how do you articulate that to a partner when you don't know yourself?
Yo, and that was one of the questions you had asked during the event of No Filter. And once again, folks, when's the next time you have it?
We haven't picked a new date for
you
No
haven't?
Filter.
Yo, listen.
What you need to do is subscribe, follow me on www.iamcoachLA.com and make sure you subscribe so that as soon as we announce the next date, you can come.
Okay, yo, coachLA. It's trivia time, folks.
Oh,
trivia
no.
time. We got you with some trivia.
No.
Okay, listen. So,
All
right.
I'm not good with trivia.
Name the song and two entertainers with the initials MJB and MM. Oh.
MJB,
Yeah.
Mary J. Blige,
That's one.
and then what's the other one?
MM.
Michael Jackson? No.
No.
MM. You said, oh, I'm sorry. You said MM. Two entertainers. MM.
Name the song and the two entertainers with the initials MJB and MM.
Wait, they have a song together?
Yeah. MJB and MM. One you already got.
Oh, Method Man.
Okay, what's the song?
Oh, you're all that I need.
Okay, Coach. Wow, okay. All right.
Think about that for a second. Wait a minute, I was about to lose my whole card. My whole black card was about to get revoked.
So, all right.
Okay, I'm feeling good. That's one.
That's why you got that one. You got that.
one.
So, are there different forms of therapy?
Yeah, there are. There are so many different forms. I'm not gonna try to name them all though.
Yeah, give us a few. You know.
But I will say, for me, and maybe these is more intervention because you said are there different forms of therapy. So, cognitive behavior therapy.
What is that?
Cognitive behavior therapy is one of my favorites because it's all about how you think. So, you ever heard that statement? What you think about, you become.
Yes. Yes.
So mindfulness, right? Meditation,
Yes.
manifestation, visualization. When we say that, a lot of that has to do with cognitive behavior therapy. And basically what it's telling you is what you think about influences how you feel, and how you feel influences how you show up or how you act.
Wow. So we gotta. Actually, they mention this in the good book where it says you got to watch your eye gate and your ear gate, what it is that you're listening to, what it is that you're watching, because that's how,
It's influence.
It's influence.
What influences you? And I think, again, when you think about environment, depending on where you grew up, has a huge influence on your lens or your perspective.
Yeah.
Right? And then you think about relationships. Relationships are mirrors. So often a partner will be a mirror to some stuff you ain't dealt with, or could trigger some things in you that was repressed. You wonder why certain partners bring out one thing in you and then you'll date somebody else and it'll bring out something else.
Wow, that's true.
They're like mirrors, right?
Yeah.
Their behaviors turn you off or make you be in a particular space, and then you'll meet somebody else and you have none of those issues.
Yeah.
And you'll be like, wow. Or the two partners will meet and they'll be like, you were two different people with them or something like that.
Yeah.
Because they triggered different things in you. But when you know thyself, you can be a little bit more consistent because you know what triggers you, what doesn't, how to communicate that, how to look for that or have that dialogue before you get intertwined with somebody else.
Yeah.
So,
all right. You was talking about your inner circle, right?
Yes.
Your inner circle. You got number one. I met you through my homegirl Sharika,
Yes.
right? I met Vic Breedy through Sharika. It's like a crew of just fly women doing their thing on their grind, and just doing it, right?
Right.
Like, does your crew come to you for advice? I
think it goes both ways.
Oh, you go to them as well too? Okay.
I think it's reciprocal with our crew though.
Yeah.
I think everybody has an element that no one person is like just the go-to, and I think that's what I love.
Yeah.
Like I can call Sharika will give me sound advice, Vic will give me sound advice. I mean, yeah, it's a dope crew, and that's only like a fraction of the whole Team Bitter crew, Team Breedy crew. So
wow, and
which is all a connection to UMass Boston.
You went to UMass Boston?
We all went to UMass Boston.
Okay, yeah, sure they went to UMass
Boston.
Boston.
My whole UMass Boston crew was like a 30-year, 3 decades we've been rocking with each other.
Wow. Let me ask you this. How do you balance work, life, and yeah, how do you balance it all, you know? Because you do a lot, man. You be out here, you know, you be working, you work. How do you balance it all?
Yeah, I think, you know, what's interesting, it's almost like I work in intervals. So I definitely have been like taking these moments where I go real hard and then I take a break.
Yeah.
And I think I do that across the board with everything, is that I might work 2 or 3 days, and then my third day, I'm like slowing down, doing less brain work. I work really well in intervals. So that's one way that I manage it, or I balance it. I like to have fun. I try to make everything I do not feel like work.
Yeah.
So like No Filter was work.
But it was fun.
Technically.
Yeah.
Right? That was work. But it didn't feel like work.
Yeah.
You know, even meeting with clients, it's supposed to be work. But it doesn't feel like work because I like talking to people.
So what do you do for fun when you're having fun? Like,
Oh, fun. I like, I love music. I go dance out. Sometimes I go out and I'll take a shake a tail feather.
Okay.
I go to comedy shows.
Okay.
I'm looking to get back into trying to skate. So I have a pair of purple skates I bought myself.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start taking some skating lessons. I work out. I like to work out. I like to go for walks. I like to read. I love watching movies. I binge watch shows. I cook.
You cook?
I can cook. Trying to think, you know, I love spending time with family, board games, cards, you know. I used to love video games. I think I want to get back into video games.
Yeah.
I was telling my son that. I was like, your mom used to really be all right on the joystick.
Really?
You know, I was all right. Even if I was just hitting a bunch of buttons, right? I still could get around and beat some people up and not know how I did it, but I did.
So let me ask you this, right? Okay, so we was talking about this earlier. You saying like, you know, you ready to get back on the dating scene, right?
Oh, you gonna really go there?
I'm just saying.
That was
that.
off camera. I didn't know you was gonna bring that up.
I'm just saying, right?
Oh,
Let's say what is something like, what is like your ideal guy looking like? You know, what I mean, something that you're like,
the
yo.
ideal guy. What does he look like?
What is he?
I'm not gonna give you the cliche answer, right? Tall, dark, and handsome.
Okay.
My ideal guy is a guy with integrity and accountability, and I came across someone that said, be careful what you ask for, because if you get a guy with integrity and accountability, he gonna call you out on your bullshit.
Ooh.
Can I say that on this?
Yeah, you can say bullshit.
He gonna call you out, so be careful on that. But I think I want a guy who has ambition and knows where he wants to go. He doesn't have to be there, but he's like, you know what, this is what I see for my future, and these are the things I'm doing to get there. He has to be fun. He has to have a sense of humor. Right? Like, we got to be able to laugh and have a good time. He has to be attractive. I have to want to, like, drink his bathwater kind of thing.
What?
Yeah, he gotta be sexy. Believe it or not, you know, I'm very, very much a lovey-dovey type of person. And I love intimacy. So if that ain't rocking, I don't know. That ain't for me. He got to be able to hold a conversation, beautiful smile. You know, good hygiene, family oriented, but not necessarily that he loves his mama and all of that. I'm not saying that, because sometimes your mama ain't lovable and she wasn't nice.
Right.
But I think being grounded in what you think family looks like and what you want to do in terms of having a family is important to me.
That's a lot. You know,
that was a lot.
That's not a lot, but you know.
I didn't say he had to have $1 million.
No, that is true. But okay, because that's one of the biggest things nowadays, right? With the whole financial part. You know what I mean?
No, I want you to have good character, man.
Good character.
I think if you got character and you got drive and you got vision, you're unstoppable. You're a powerful brother.
Yeah.
You know, it's when brothers have low self-esteem too and lack direction. You know, and I think when you have low self-esteem and you lack direction, that's when you're subjected to all of the things that are not that great, like drinking, sleeping with a whole bunch of chicks, just everything, because you're not grounded in who you are as a man. But when you're grounded, you won't be distracted. You won't be easily swayed by things that are not good for your spirit or your soul.
Yo, as you saying that, I'm thinking about my own journey, right? And how it is that, because we all go, as men, we all go through this process of just finding ourselves. And, you know, when you're able to really love yourself, right, you're like, man, I ain't doing that. I can't hang around with this. Or even after you finish doing something that you like, you feel corny afterwards.
Right.
You know?
But I think we done a disservice. I have an 18-year-old son.
Yeah.
And I think there's been definitely, I think some of the decisiveness that's happened is that we raise boys differently, we raise girls.
Yeah.
Right? We raise girls to look at their body as a temple. We raise girls to take their time and be little princesses and all of that. But you, as a guy, you're a king, sow your royal oats.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
go out, be wild,
Yeah.
do all of these things first. But there's a lot of damage that can happen to a man as he's sowing his royal oats
That's
and
true.
doing this wild stuff
That's
before
true.
he meets his mate. Who's helping him heal and process all of that
That's true.
while he's wilding?
That is true.
And so who is he bringing to this woman who's been holding herself and
Right.
being kept so preciously, and she's doing all this. She gets this guy who's been ran through,
Yeah.
who doesn't really know who he is. He's damaged. He feels broken.
You know what I heard? I hear that a lot of the times as I started continuing on my healing journey, because I'm still on that journey as well too, right? I hear like a lot of times, you know, we go out there, we sell our royal oats, we want to, because that's what we've been, you know, conditioned to do. You know what I mean? Like the guy that got the most girls, that's who you're looking up to, you know, he's the flyest, blah, 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 all these things. But then also, you know, we don't know the damage that it's caused. You know what I mean?
Right. So think about how many young men that's the situation, and they have a couple of females with children, and they're on child support, and they're just dealing with a lot of the stresses that comes along with this sowing of the royal oats.
Yeah,
right?
I know that.
Then you got all of the women with these children, right? With these different guys, and now they want a mate. Who they gonna get as a mate? My son?
Yeah.
So my son's getting this female who got, like, it's just a domino effect of trauma and drama that we keep perpetuating, when in actuality, why can't men also take their time to get to know themselves too? And why is your value placed in between your legs?
Right.
Like, a man should be more than his genitalia, so should a woman.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, a man should be valued for his brain, his insight, his soul, his spirit, not just how he can make money or what he can do in the bedroom.
Right. Yeah. That's a lot. We gotta go into trivia now, folks. we gotta go into trivia. Okay. All right.
Dropping too many nuggets on you, Jay.
A lot of nuggets.
Hey,
a lot of nuggets. Okay. So.
Oh boy. I hope I get this one.
All right. Name 3 historical black colleges in Virginia.
Virginia State.
Virginia State is one of them. Starts with an H. I'll give you one.
Hampton.
Hampton, you got that. One of them. And
is it Clemson?
No. You got it.
I don't know. I don't know if I can.
You can say Norfolk State.
Oh shoot, that's
Norfolk
right.
State.
Norfolk State. That's right. I
Norfolk
even
State.
did that one.
So
Hey, I'll take 2 out of 3.
you got that, you know. No, that's a lot, man, you know, and especially I think like a lot of times men, we definitely got to go through a process of healing, you know what I mean? Really getting to know ourselves, what we like, what we don't like, because a lot of times I see there's a lot of pointing, yo, she doesn't do this, she doesn't, and I really feel like, yo, that's really a reflection of us as men, you know what I mean? Because the women are really just going to, not to degrade women or anything like that.
Or generalize.
Yeah, or generalize, but I think they're a mirror of us, you know what I mean?
I agree.
You know?
I agree. And I also think gender roles play a role in it, right?
Yeah.
So like some guys can cook way better than their girl.
Yeah. Not
But
me.
I feel like women should get in the kitchen and go help your man cook.
Why?
So if it's not something you do well and he is really good at it, make it a couple activity. Go chop stuff up.
Yeah.
Say, baby, show me. Let him get behind you and, like, you know, show you how to make it intimate.
I'm gonna do
right?
that.
You
Yeah.
know, taste testing. Baby, what that tastes like. You know, pour a glass of wine, wash the dishes together. There's ways to make everything sexy.
Oh.
Right? And so instead of taking it personal that he cooks better than you,
Yeah.
get him a nice apron cook with your boxer shorts on. I don't
Hey,
know.
now.
Make it fun,
Yo.
right? Don't make everything a competition and
Yeah.
like, oh, you should be doing this. And no, if he cleans better than you, right? Because maybe he got that, his mother had a cleaning service, so he's like the bomb.com
yeah.
with cleaning. Do it together. Get better at it. Just show an interest in it and don't shame the other person because they don't know how. How you don't know how to clean like that? Your mama didn't teach you how to clean. Who raised you?
Right.
Don't do that.
Oh man.
Right?
Jeez.
Don't do that. Don't be like, damn, your mama didn't show you how to cook. Like, what kind of wife are you gonna be? I think we shame each other, and then that's when we do the finger pointing.
That's true.
Right?
That is
Instead of
true.
it being like, baby, come get in this kitchen. Let me show you how I like my food. I like my meat seasoned like this. I like it to taste just like you. You know, make it interesting. You know? And you can make it real sexy.
Babe.
You know?
I like that. Yeah.
But I mean, I do couples therapy too, and a lot of the things that make people break up is because they shaming each other for what each other doesn't know how to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Instead of saying, yo, I'm not liking how our finances is looking. Let's sit down together and figure it out. And as a man, if your woman is better with the finances, don't take it personal.
Right.
If she says, let's sit down and look at the bills together, sit down with her and say, baby, show me how you did that.
Right.
Okay, all right, so this is what it looks like. All right, like make everything be about learning. And before you know it, y'all be stripping your clothes off.
Yeah.
It would be fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
But instead we shame them. Oh, what kind of man are you? You don't know how to do this. Or what kind of, don't do that. It's supposed to be about love. Lead with love.
That is true.
Lead with love. Like, why do you get a mate if you don't expect to enhance and make each other better? What's the purpose of relationships? I ask people, why do you want to be in a relationship?
Yeah.
What's the purpose of the relationship? To have codependence? If this person's not good, then you're not good. If they're not constantly building you up and doing stuff for you, you're not happy. You'll go off with the next person. I just think our psychology around why we want to be in partnership needs to change.
So I'm not a great cook, but my lady's a great cook. I be hyping her up though. You know, I be in the kitchen like, babe, you got this. This is phenomenal right here. You know, I might chop up a little something here.
And women love that. Most people who cook, the more you love their food, the more they want to cook.
Yo, shout out to my lady. I love your food, babe. You know, I love your food. It be hitting. Cause you know, there's just so much that I'm thinking right now. You know, because you hit on so many points. You know, because our community, you know, we need healing, man.
Yeah.
We need a lot of healing, and I think what you're doing, you know, with the line of work that you're doing, that's the healing right there. Yo, let me ask you this: How often do you get like male clients? Now, do you get a lot?
You know what's interesting? These platforms have been increasing my male clientele.
Really?
I've recently had an influx of men, and I'm like, what's going on with that, right?
Yeah.
So I started when I got back into doing direct services. I was working at an organization that specializes and catered to men, and they brought me on to really work with their women, to work with the women. But I have had an influx of men. 90% of my practice was women. But now it's like about an 80-20 split.
Yeah.
20% now is men. So I think that in every therapeutic relationship, there's a certain amount of healing that occurs when you kind of step into different roles. Sometimes I might be more of a motherly role, an auntie role, a sister. So I think those things of having healthy relationships with an opposite sex, where it's not intimacy, it's not about sleeping with each other. A lot of people lack those type of healthy relationships. So I feel like that might be also why there's been an influx of male clients.
That's true.
Is that, you know, there's a lot of value that you can have with having an opposite sex person kind of come in as a surrogate to what you may have missed in terms of having a feminine energy in your life. I'm trying to make that as clear as I can.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And let me ask you a question now, right? So do you think men and women can be friends,
Good
platonic
job.
friends?
I'm glad you asked that. So shout out to Kirk Foston. He said that men do a horrible job of having platonic relationships.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's completely true. I think that when you find someone you can rock with and you're not brother and sister, the thought might go through your head, especially if they're attractive.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes we can start getting feelings for people who we weren't initially attracted to because of how they think and how they treat us and all of those type of things. I get that. But I do think there's a possibility to have platonic relationships.
Yeah.
I have lots of them, and I've never slept with these people, but they're sexy.
Yeah.
You know, I remember in college, my boys are gonna crack up. In college, I was like with the whole basketball team, and I was like one of only females that hung out with them.
Yeah.
I wasn't sleeping with none of them.
Yeah.
People was like, "You're not messing with any of them."
Yeah.
You're like, come on.
Yeah.
And I remember one day we was all chilling, hanging out, and they all asked me, "Yo, who you like? Because you always with us."
Yeah.
And I'm like, I actually like all of y'all, and y'all all could get it. So since I can't do that, and I'm not that type of girl, I'd rather be friends with y'all.
Yeah.
Y'all ain't passing me around.
Yeah, that is true.
Because it's like, if I'm not going to be one of y'all's girlfriend and we're not going to get married, then that means that you're just going to be a notch on the belt. And I don't want to be a notch on the belt. I don't want y'all talking about me.
That is true. Guys do be pillow talking like that.
They do. They were my boys, so I knew how they rolled.
Yeah.
And then they ended up really loving me and respecting me that they couldn't do it anyway. Because it's like, how do we... I can't smash you now.
Yeah.
Like, you like my sister.
Yeah, and believe it or not, it messes up the dynamic of the relationship, because once you do cross those lines, you're like, you don't really, it's like, then you lose that friendship. You know what I'm saying?
You could. You don't have to.
Well,
you don't have to. I think this is where I know people like, did Coach just say smash?
Yeah.
She just said smash. She talks like that?
Yeah.
I do speak that way, and I also can speak very professionally, but y'all understand. I'm speaking to different genres of people, and unfortunately people use that. I can also say we're at sex.
Yeah,
we're gonna have intimate sex.
Intercourse.
That's the proper way to say it, right?
Yeah.
So I think that it doesn't have to.
Yeah.
I think what you have to have is a level of emotional maturity to understand what it is that you want. And I think sometimes we're not honest. Some people can detach emotional attachment from the physical act. Most people, not everybody. So the more you know thyself and understand what does sex mean to you, will stop you from just going to do that. So if you're my friend, and I know I value sex, and I already love you as a friend, and you're attractive, I should have the emotional maturity to be able to control myself and discipline myself to say, listen, if we're not about to like really be like an item, and we're not talking about there's a future and this is going somewhere, we shouldn't venture over there.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm gonna get hurt.
Yeah.
Right? And I care about you and you care about me. We should probably not do that.
So when you say detached, is that more of like, because
some people can have sex without getting feelings.
Is that more like women, or is that more
I think
men?
both.
Both.
I think both people can do it.
Yeah.
I think it goes back to what it is that you're looking for at that time in your life. Like, I think you got to be honest with where you at. If you want a relationship and you want a connection, be honest with yourself.
Right.
That you want more than sex.
Right.
Or I'm horny this right now, and I want to have sex, and I like you, but I'm not sure if I have sex with you and it's really good, that's going to make me like you more, and that's going to make me want to be around you more. Maybe I shouldn't take that risk.
Yeah.
Because if you blow my mind,
oh my God,
I'm messed up.
Yeah.
I'm messed up because I already think you're cool. I already like everything about you, and then that happens. How you gonna just turn that off?
Yeah.
I mean, you got to be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Now, if you suck, it might be a little bit easier. I mean, am I lying though?
Yeah. Takes a sip of water. Yo.
I mean, I'm a therapist, but I think you just got to be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Especially if you know you're a sexual being and sex is important to you, and then maybe everybody else that it was never to that level. Mm-hmm. And this happens to be your friend. Yeah. You cool. You hang out. Y'all laugh all the time, and then that is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, come on now. Of course you're going to want that person. Why wouldn't you want them?
That's true. That's true.
And now I got to watch you be with other women, or I got to see you be with other men, and we got to try to act like we just cool and we ain't really got nothing going on because we private or it's a secret. Can't nobody know we did it. Like, that's difficult. When we think about the emotional maturity it takes to navigate the complexity of that,
Yeah.
if people really thought about what I'm asking you to do is to act like you have no feelings for me.
That's hard.
To act like we didn't just like get it in and that wasn't like the best sex of my life.
Yeah.
And to just let you walk away and be with somebody else and I'm not supposed to have no feelings about that.
Jeez.
When I say it out loud, doesn't that sound ridiculous?
That sounds harsh, you know?
Really hard.
Yeah, that's hard.
So then you ruin the friendship because it's not because the friendship is gone. It's because the person can't stand to be able to see that. And you're asking them to do something that is just difficult.
Yeah.
And to keep a straight face and be happy for you to be with somebody else. Watch you be with somebody else and they don't treat you well.
That's a lot.
And you come to them talking about how this other person ain't doing you right. Like, how would it? Come on.
Dang. Let's go into some trivia, folks. Let's go into some trivia.
It's not right.
You
got to think about what you're asking people to do.
That is true. That's a lot, you know? That's a lot.
And people who can do that,
Yeah.
giving them some grace if they're navigating that because they're valuing the friendship over everything else. That's a dope person you might want to hold on to.
And that's where us as men, right? We have to get to that maturity where it's like, I value the friendship a lot. You know what I mean? And you know, thinking about my journey, you know what I mean? Like, yo, there's certain girls that like, yo, like we could have
broke
been
some hearts.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Yo, honestly, and that like going to your event, you thinking you going back, you thinking like, damn, I messed that up. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So the only thing you could do now is you can't go back, but you can definitely, moving forward, become the best version of yourself, right? Yeah, and whatever relationship that you're currently in, you know, she is your friend and you really rocking out with that person and you're really like, just, you know,
learn, evolve.
Yeah, you evolve.
You become a better person. And again, grace.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what you don't know until you learn it, you know?
You don't know what you don't know until you learn it. That's a bar right there. coachLA's talking to him, folks. Yeah, that's a bar. You don't know what you don't know.
What's the trivia question?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right.
Okay, here we go. Name 3 black women show hosts of talk shows. Ooh.
Jennifer Hudson. Whoopi Goldberg.
Whoopi.
Of course, Oprah Winfrey.
Oprah.
You said 3.
Give me one more. Everybody know Oprah.
Who else is on my head that I'm thinking about? Oh, Wendy Williams.
Wendy Williams. Yeah, I was more thinking about Tamron Hall.
Yeah, I was trying to pick a couple of them.
Yeah. All right, so you have this segment called Bet on Yourself, right? Yeah. Bet on Self.
Yeah.
What has been your bet on self moment?
Ooh, no, you didn't flip my question on
Listen,
me.
coachLA.
Tom J took my question and flipped it on me.
I studied you, you know what I mean? I had to get ready when I was really putting my questions together.
So bet on self is those epiphanies, right, that make you believe, that encourage you to be empowered and to transform your life. My biggest bet on self moment was jumping full throttle, 100% into working for myself. And I think sometimes I forget that I work for myself. There's times that I forget that I really retired myself at 45. And when I think about retiring myself, I didn't even think about it like that. But somebody said to me, most people, when they think about retirement, they talk about working for themselves.
Right.
Like retiring from working for somebody else.
Right.
And I'm like, wow, I didn't even realize that I've already done that. But that moment, I remember when I hit send on my resignation letter, the anxiety that was in the pit of my stomach, like I had this knot that just wouldn't go away. There was a part of me that felt like I was being disloyal for leaving the company and not going back and sort of crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's and tying up everything in a nice little bowl so I could get like a nice farewell party and be like, hey, it was great that you worked here. The way that I ended up leaving was really a moment of me choosing me over them. And me saying, you know what, I've been trying to build my own business and still help them build their business and still support all of these legs that are attached to this organization.
Yeah.
And I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
And it was during the pandemic, I'm taking a company from being a brick and mortar on the ground to a completely virtual company to keep everything afloat and keep everybody motivated. I'm coming on all of these Zooms fully dressed and, you know, high spirits during one of the most difficult times in this whole country.
Yeah.
And when everything started to settle down, I was like, hey, I want to take some time off. I need to take at least a month to just woosah from everything. And the pushback was like, no. That's too long for a leader to be out. I mean, and there's more to the backstory, but I'm just getting to the highlights. And I realized, I'm like, they took time off to do what they needed to do while I was and could rely on me to hold things down so that they could do what they needed to do. And I'm saying, you don't even have to pay me. I was like, listen, you don't have to pay me. I just need the time.
Right.
And the pushback was, no, you can take 2 weeks. And something went off in my head. And I was like, okay, do I continue this? Can I leave? It was this big thing. And I went away, took my entire family. We went away to New Hampshire for me to just get a weekend. I brought my closest family members and I told them, I said, I think I'm ready to leap into working for myself full time, but I'm scared. And I'm not sure if the numbers are right. I'm not sure if this is gonna work. I'm gonna need a lot of support. So I like really had to mentally prepare myself. And I went back to the job and I remember going back and the energy was tense. I don't know if you ever work someplace where you don't feel comfortable anymore.
Right.
And you just feel like you walk in and it's heavy and getting up is just feeling like you want to cry and you just don't want to do it. And I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? So I remember talking to Vic, and me and Vic was like, so what's the numbers? And I told her what the rent was for the spot I was looking at. I told her what I had already been making part-time, and she's like, what is there to think about? Your overhead's low, your revenue potential is high. Why are you hesitant, right? And so I talked to my other bestie. Same thing. Everybody was saying the same thing, and I realized I was just scared. I was scared of losing relationships, right? I was scared that the owners of the company wouldn't talk to me anymore. They would feel like I was, trying to do them wrong. It was like all these other thoughts that was not about me and my dreams and goals or my son. And I heard my dad's voice. At that time, he had already passed away. And he was like, baby, I told you to bet on yourself. That's not your company. None of these jobs have ever been your company. Until you build something of your own, you're going to always feel like this. And I made a decision not to go back, and I wrote that resignation letter.
Wow.
And I held it, and I sent it off. I scheduled it to hit everybody's email boxes. And when I hit it and knew it was going to go out, I was like, man, I said, I just did it.
Boom.
Done. Boom, blew the whole shit up. Excuse me.
Nah, you could. Yo.
But I remember sitting at my desk in my office because I already had the office, I already had everything, and I remember sitting there and I'm like, you don't have a job. And I was like, you don't have a job. And I remember, shout out to Marv Neal. Marv Neal said, you have a business. He said, what's wrong with you? You're going to be all right. So I just think that, betting on yourself is one of the scariest things, but it's a bet that you know that you have some control over.
Yeah.
And I just keep betting on myself every day. Ever since then.
That was a lot. That was okay. Let me ask you this: what about because as business owners, when you get in the no's, maybe you're not hitting your quota. How do you get over those?
That's
times?
A good one. So, shout out to TEDx Roxbury for giving me my no. Right, I submitted my proposal and I didn't get picked to do the TEDx Roxbury, and I really, I was like holding. I seen it a few times and finally got up enough courage to submit my application. And I got through the first round, and I thought I had it in the bag. I'm like, man, yeah, they're gonna pick me, right? Because I wanted to talk about redefining the strong black woman narrative, right? And I felt like that was a talk that needed to be had, especially in a time where I feel like there's a hyper focus on independence. There's more and more women of color, especially that are single and not married, that have a desire to be married. More and more people are doing IVF and taking it on their own to become mothers. It's just a lot of that I see. And I think part of it is that this idea that we need to be strong and independent has made men feel like we don't need them, right? So I felt like this was a talk that needed to happen, but they didn't pick me. That was a big no. So I decided I'm gonna start doing coach talk, and I just take a lot of things when I get a no. I'm like, okay, so not right now. Or how can I create my own table, or create my own room,
Right.
so I can open up my own door? I'll say that again. How do I create my own table so I can pull up my own chair, or create my own room so I can open up my own door?
Yeah.
So that's what I do with no's. You tell me no, I might just go create it. If it doesn't exist, I create it. If it's an event that I think should be done, I go make it. I go find somebody to collaborate with that maybe wants to do the same thing.
Yo, coachLA, you about that life.
Yeah, I felt like I felt some oomph in my chest when I just said that. I want to be a powerful woman, not a strong woman. I've just recently, I don't know who this lady was that I saw on Instagram, but when she made this, she was being interviewed. I got to go find out who she is, but it was more important what she said. She broke down the difference between a strong woman and a powerful woman, and it resonated with me.
What's the difference?
Right? And so a strong woman is one who's learned how to survive.
Yeah.
She's gone through a lot, and so she knows how to navigate to survive. A powerful woman thrives. A powerful woman is resourceful. A powerful woman is setting what I just told you. She's creating tables. She's making the chairs. She's creating the rooms. She's changing the atmosphere.
Boom. Yeah, yeah.
So I want to be a powerful woman. Actually, I am a powerful woman. And I think I've always been a powerful woman. And the strength comes from the power.
Yeah. And on top of that, you're in your femininity.
Yes.
You know?
I'm very sexy.
Yeah, you're in your femininity, you know, you're fly with it, you know, like you got this grace about you that, you know, and I think what you do is everybody can't really do this. You know what I'm saying? Everybody can't really do the therapy joint, even if you went to school for it. I feel like it's gotta be a calling, you know?
Yeah, I really feel like that. So one story I didn't tell you, I'm a survivor of domestic violence. Nobody would ever think that. And so I remember being pregnant with my son. I bought my first house at 26. I'm still in that house. My son is now 18. But the year I bought my house, I also found out I was pregnant. Like, it was like September, I bought the house of 04. Probably by November, December, I found out I was pregnant. So my son was born. My son was purchased. My son was born in August of 2005. So during that time of all of that, I was dealing with domestic violence, right? From college, actually, because I met my son's father in college. So you figure the span of me going through college, graduating, getting my house, all of that, on and off again, because it was one of those on and off again relationships. They say it takes most women anywhere from 7 to 10 times to leave before they finally relieve an unhealthy relationship. So you figure the span of that, that's basically what happened. So I remember being at, shout out to Greater Love Tabernacle, Bishop Dickinson.
Bishop Dickinson.
Right? I had gone up for prayer while I was pregnant with Rashad. Eyes closed, head down, hands up, because I was asking for discernment, grace, strength. As I was going through domestic violence, I'm a homeowner, I'm pregnant, feet swelling up. I'm going through it, y'all.
Yeah.
Going through it.
Yeah.
And I remember the pastor stopping at me, telling me to open my eyes. At the time, he was a pastor, now he's a bishop. And he told me that I did not need to walk in shame, that God saw me.
Wow.
And that everything that I had been going through and dealing with was going to be part of my testimony. It was going to help me help other women heal and become empowered. I didn't understand it then. 90% of my practice is women. I now think that my calling is not just for women. I think that my calling is also to help black men, because black men were raised by a lot of black women,
Right.
single black women, and so that stuff has trickled onto them.
Yeah. Yeah. That's major. That's a lot, you know? Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it was definitely something. As I look back, and if you pull back the layers of domestic violence, you'll find a lot of successful women have dealt with domestic violence that you would never think are dealing with it. Right? And part of it is I know my brain in psychology was success. If I just try a little bit harder, if I just do it a little bit differently, it was always a reflection of whether or not I was successful. So I wanted the relationship to be successful. If I stay and it fit and it works, then all of this that I went through was worth it. We talked about struggle love. That was one of the things we talked about at No Filter.
Struggle love.
Is like, how much struggle do you need to go through to be deserving of being loved? And where did that come from, that we feel like love has to be a struggle, right? That we got to fight for attention and beg for attention and beg to be seen. And some of that comes from that we didn't get the love and attention that we needed from our parents.
Oh, that's true.
So we think that that's what we got to do. Even in a partnership, it's supposed to be a struggle. We got to beg for it. We got to, hey, see me, I'm great. You see what I'm doing? Look what I just did. Look what I bought you. You love me now?
Yeah.
You see me now? Am I good enough now?
And all that is struggle love.
That's what I think.
Jeez.
I want somebody to love me right out the gate. I want them to see me fabulous right now, at this size, at this moment, at this time, to accept everything about me, and I want to accept everything about you. That doesn't mean that we don't got areas to grow, but if I don't love you just as you are right now and I want to change everything about you, do I really love you?
Nah.
If I don't accept myself the way I am right now, do I really love me?
No.
And that's part of the problem. You got to love yourself, flaws and all, completely.
Yeah.
You got people running, everybody's doing the BBLs, and I'm not knocking that. Change what you need to change. But if you don't love yourself already, if you don't work on all that stuff on the inside,
Right. Yeah.
now you get this body and say it's scarred. Say you're one of the people that ends up with, it doesn't go well, and you didn't already have your mind right. Now you got double whammy shame.
That's true.
Double whammy, I don't like the way I look. Now you don't want to take your clothes off even more than you did the first time.
Yeah.
So what did you solve?
Nothing. Just added more layers of problem. I feel like I'm in a coachLA therapy session right
Right?
now.
So I want people to love themselves.
Yeah.
And I want us to stop being so hard on each other. Just so the world could just be a little kinder to each other. Just a little bit.
Yeah.
We are so hard on each other and so hard on ourselves.
For real. No, absolutely.
So I just want to be loved. And I want to give love. I'm just love.
Yeah.
I'm exuding all types of love. There's love flowing through me.
Yo, okay. I got a final question, right? So I know you've had a lot of conversation on your show. Okay. Who has been...
Don't do it.
Listen. Who has been the most
I'm not answering this.
impactful, helpful, enjoyable conversation
You're not
that
going to
you've
do
had?
that. You're not going to do that to me.
Talk to him, Jay.
No, you're not.
Talk to him, Jay.
You're not going to make me choose somebody.
Oh, okay.
No,
all right.
you're not. That's not even fair. There's been too many good people.
All right, top 3.
Too many good people.
I know you've had like a lot of
There's
them.
just too many.
Okay, let me ask you this.
Okay, let me try. So maybe we got to change it. Like, who's been like funny, or you got to give me something.
All right, yeah.
Because that just makes it competitive.
Well, who's been the most like? All right, who's been the most after you've left that conversation? You're like, wow, I didn't know that about him. I didn't know that about her, or it had you thinking a little bit, like, you know.
I'm trying to think. Okay, who has been somebody that I go, ooh, I didn't know that about you? That surprised me. That's a good question.
Listen,
I don't know that I was surprised by people, and that's because maybe that's because I'm a therapist. Like, nothing surprises me.
Yeah.
So I don't go into it like that. I feel like I feel like people come on my show and they're vulnerable, and I think they didn't expect it to be vulnerable, and I think that's been. I know with James Lambert, he was like, "Wow, that conversation was like, whoa, I wasn't expecting it to be like that, where I would be that vulnerable and that free flowing." Liz Miranda was another one that was like, wow, that was a really dope conversation where she really felt like she could just be Liz.
Right.
You too, I think when we had the conversation, you was like, yo, this is super dope. The way to flow. I had you, just talking about stuff you didn't expect to talk about. I think overall, it's always love to see people be able to just be them, right? Like it's not smokes and mirrors. I think my show is it's live. It's not this pre-scripted, pre-edited show. We're just really having a conversation, and whatever comes out of it comes out of it. But there's some dope people out here.
No, it is dope. Absolutely. There's some really fly people
that have a lot of great things to say and share. So I mean, I think from that standpoint, okay, I got it. Yeah. My son.
Your son.
I don't know if anybody knew this, but I had my son on the show. And he talked about being raised by a single parent and having a mother that was a therapist. And I think that show was impactful because it was an impromptu, because my guest canceled, and I was like, son, I need you to come be my guest. He was like, what? I was like, nah, it was like Mother's Day, I believe. Yeah. It was Mother's Day.
Yeah.
And that show, y'all gotta go check that show out. My son, Rashad Austin, was a guest, and we talked about him having me as his mom and what that was like. That show was very much one of the shows that, if I had to pick, was dope. I also had my two sisters.
You got sisters?
Yeah, so I'm the oldest of 6.
Oldest of 6, yeah.
And I had my two sisters. Shout out to my family, my sister Shamina and my sister Radisha. And we talked about the impact of parenting, the different parenting styles on us as siblings, because we all got different versions of our parents. And that's because they had 6 kids, and they were at different phases of their lives with each one of us. And me being the oldest, I had a 16-year-old mom at that time and a 19-year-old dad, who I had versus my sister, who now they're in their 40s, was 2 different types of parents. They had matured, they had learned some things, and they parented differently than they parented me. So we talked about that. That was a pretty impactful show too.
Wow. Yo, we covered a lot. Actually, we went over the time a little bit, but yo, you was just, this was fly, This is super fly. Any final thoughts?
Keep doing what you're doing, man. I told you when I met you, I was like, I love the whole concept, especially because you talk to kids about finances. I just want to see your platform be in more spaces, talking to more kids, and just, I'm glad that I was honored. I'm honored to be here and just help us all grow and develop and, expand each other's platforms.
Yeah.
And we can do it by collaborating. So
absolutely. No, you keep doing what you're doing as well too. I already told you gave me them Oprah vibes, man.
Yeah, so, you did say that.
Yeah,
you did say that.
So yeah, folks. Listen, I'd like to leave you with a quote. What I want in honor of Women's History Month, what I want young women and girls to know is you are powerful and your voice matters. And that is from Vice President Kamala Harris. It's your main man, Jay. Live, love, light. I'll holla. Peace and blessings. Fly.